Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime. Welcome to Dark Poutine. It has been a really long time.
It has. Many weeks.
Many weeks, 3.
Well, since the last episode, but many more since we've recorded.
Yeah, because we were smart and got ahead of our recording.
Tis correct.
Tis correct. I'm Mike Brown, creator and host. With me, as usual, is my good friend and co-host, Scott Hemingway.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Scott. So I was away.
Were you? This is news to me.
It is not news to you because you probably enjoyed yourself without my irritation.
Where did you go? This is all.
I drove to Nova Scotia and back.
Oh, so no big deal. Just a little jaunt.
Just 16,000 kilometers on our new car.
Is it new anymore?
It still smells new.
Does it really?
Well,
knowing you, I would question the smell part.
Well, there is that, but there's some pizza maybe smelling there too. But I had a good time.
Good.
This is a bonus episode, so this isn't going to be your usual let's get into a case and do that kind of thing right away, because I kind of want to talk a little bit about my trip because it really had a big impact on me.
And you literally just got back.
Yeah, and I literally just got back, so I haven't had time to write another episode. I did write one while I was on the road about being on the road, but it was really boring. So I decided not to record it all by myself. I called it a Scott-free killer tour.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of a great name. And
I love it, actually. Scott-free. Because it's an expression.
Right, exactly.
It's an expression. Plus,
it's double entendre.
I was free of you.
Correct.
So it works out great.
Yes, for both of us.
Yes.
Let's get to it.
What are we getting to?
Yeah, put on your toque, grab yourself a double-double and an Nanaimo bar. It's time to scarf down some dark poutine. So before I get into my travel story, I want to say most of this podcast is actually going to be an interview with Jack Luna from the Dark Topic podcast. And I met Jack for the first time in person at the Canadian True Crime Podcast meetup in Toronto in July. I can't believe it was like in July. That was over a month ago.
Yeah, we're nearing the end of August.
Anyway, so on my way back home, I stopped in at Jack's place in Manitoba, and we had a great conversation about creativity, podcasting, personal darkness. We got into a bit of my story again and some of his story. It was very interesting, so I kind of cracked Jack Luna open like an egg.
Oh, good.
And you know what? He's a good egg.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a good egg.
Good segue.
Carol didn't like his sunglasses that he wore at the...
Well, were they nice sunglasses?
Well, they were mirror-y sunglasses.
Sounds cool to me.
But he said it was because the lights were really bright in there, and they were. Up on that stage was terrible.
Maybe he's a big Corey Hart fan as well.
Canadian.
Oh, I know what I'm doing.
You do know what you're doing.
Oh, I know what I'm doing.
Carol's former boss, Bruce, grew up with Corey Hart.
Whoa.
They were older than Corey Hart.
Okay.
So what they would do is hold Corey Hart down and fart on his head. So I know somebody who has farted on Corey Hart's head.
Like I feel sorry for Corey. Like I feel like I need to defend Corey Hart.
Well, it could be where like songs like Eurasian Eyes came from.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
Because that's a terrible song.
It wasn't bad. I liked it. It wasn't his top.
No.
But I still enjoyed it.
There you go. Yeah, the first thing that we really did was that Toronto meetup. So I drove through the States I didn't feel super comfortable in the States. For the very first time, I didn't really feel welcome there, which was interesting. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe it was me sort of projecting, but
Yeah, it's always a possibility.
I did.
We do that as humans.
Yeah, and I did feel that there was far too many references to Trump in the positive as I was driving.
Really,
I would see, signs about it, and then a newspaper article like at a hotel saying he's doing such a great job, and it's very odd because the media that we see is diametrically opposed to that.
Yeah.
Also, I saw just tweeted a picture of it, just a sign that just said Trump. Someone had taken the letters on an old sign and taken everything else off and just wrote the word Trump.
Yeah, it's well, I guess you probably were going through a lot of rural country.
Yeah.
So,
North Dakota.
yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I was thinking about all the murders and stuff. This is what the episode that I was going to do was going to be about. I drove past Lake Sammamish where Ted Bundy took the 2 girls.
Jeez, yeah.
Just literally right down the road is where he had the dump sites. It wasn't hard for him to get from one place to the other quickly. I stayed in Spokane where Keith Hunter Jesperson, the Happy Face Killer's family, lived. I drove through Missoula, Montana, where the Missoula Mauler is from. And then I went to the Deer Lodge, Montana State Prison there.
Yes.
And that was pretty cool. This is where it's debated that the Zodiac may have spent some time.
Yeah.
So I had to do it.
Your little footy prints may have been where the Zodiac's footy prints were.
Interestingly, when I walked into one room, they had a whole room plastered with missing posters of children. And it was very disturbing.
Jeez.
It was dark in there, but there was all these missing posters of kids. And the one that was like right in front of you as you walk in is Michael Dunahee.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so here I am in Montana.
Wow.
Literally over 1,000 miles away.
And that, I mean, it was a big case. It got a lot of, it was on America's Most Wanted a few times, but 20 years later, I wouldn't think it's still up in.
Yeah, it's a fresh poster that is there.
And for those who aren't local to BC, it was a little boy who, how old was he? 4 or something?
I think he was 4.
Went missing in, was it Nanaimo or Victoria? Anyways,
I
it was
believe.
close to here. He went missing while in the playground with his parents, and so it was
If you want more detail, actually, Robin Warder of The Trail Went Cold just released a 2-part episode of 2 BC kids who have gone missing, and Michael Dunahee is one.
It was probably one of the biggest missing children cases in BC that I can remember anyway.
Absolutely. I got to see some cool things. I recorded a bunch of stuff with my dash cam that I bought before we left, and I recorded a car fire outside of Chicago.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
I almost drove into Plainfield, Wisconsin. And do you know who lived there?
No.
Ed Gein.
Oh,
I was going to go drive by and see and just knock on doors and say, "Can you show me Ed's house?"
I think it's demolished.
Oh yeah,
my
I know it.
understanding.
I know it's
Far.
demolished, but I just like show me the plot where it used to be. I'm not a creep. Once I got back into Canada, I was pretty glad. I picked up Carol in Hamilton, and we stayed at her cousin Andrea's place for a few days. So we went to the True Crime Podcast meetup.
Yep.
And there was a panel with 6 people on stage.
Yeah.
There was Jordan from the Nighttime Podcast in Nova Scotia. I really dig the Nighttime Podcast, and he and I, for some reason, hadn't been able to connect really as humans before.
Well, a continent will do that.
Yeah, a continent will definitely do that. But I got to spend some time just chatting with him just briefly after, and I really dig him. Like
that's awesome.
He's a pretty great guy,
That's
and
awesome.
I got to tell him that he's actually somebody who it was listening to his podcast that helped push me over the edge to get me to finally start to do this.
Interesting.
And it was his one specifically about the MacDonald murders in Sydney, Nova Scotia, where he's from. And he was speaking to Phonse Jessam, who wrote a book. And Phonse Jessam is a well-known reporter from Nova Scotia. So,
What a great name.
yeah, Phonse, right?
Jessam.
Yeah, anyway, so I finally got to connect with Jordan, and and tell him how great I think he is. And he essentially facilitated the thing. He emceed it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He kept it running anyway. With him was, of course, Christy Lee from the Canadian True Crime Podcast, who we've had the pleasure of meeting a couple of times now.
And I've listened to all of her episodes finally. When I listen to I'm kind of like, if I'm playing a video game or something, it's like, I'm going to finish this game before I play the next. And so it's what I do with podcasts.
Yeah.
I run one right through and then I'll jump onto another. And I've gone through hers and just a really big fan. Really big shoe.
Really big shoe.
Really, I think
really big Australian shoe.
I think her podcast is spectacular.
I do too. I like it too. And also there was Robin Warder. From The Trail Went Cold. We mentioned him earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I also did that episode on Bruce MacArthur with him for Minds of Madness with Tyler Allen.
Yes.
That was great seeing him again. Jack Luna was there from Dark Topic, and as well his brother Leroy. Hi, Leroy. You rock. Leroy's awesome. He loves Dark Poutine. He was telling me how much he really likes it.
Leroy Jenkins?
No, Leroy, Jack Luna's brother.
Oh, not Leroy Jenkins.
I guess not. Nina Innestead from Already Gone was there, as was Charlie from the Insight Podcast. And they put on a pretty good show, answering some questions from the audience, just talking a little bit about their shows and what their perspective was on certain sort of true crime questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was really good.
That sounds awesome.
And then afterward, they introduced the other podcasters who happened to be there, and I was there. Sawyer Westbrook from Marble Garden, she's here in the Umber Yard. Yep, she does a really great podcast about cemeteries.
Whoa.
And I have kind of a side project that I've been thinking of doing one about death. And I think when it comes time to talk about cemeteries and funerals, I might actually
dig into that resource. Yeah, for sure.
Talk to Sawyer about it.
For sure.
She was interesting, for sure. I met Sarah from the Salty Canadian Podcast.
Okay.
Yep. And, of course, our friends from the Spoop Files.
Oh, yes.
They were there and gave me a book on Oak Island and the Templar Templar connection for Oak Island.
Yeah.
So I was so blown away. Thank you so much. They seemed excited to see me, so I don't know what's wrong with them. Maybe there's a problem.
So, like, nobody got excited about me on the bus.
I didn't get excited about you on the
bus.
Well, actually, I did.
We didn't work the same shifts usually.
But if we did, it was nice to see each other on the bus.
We'd put on our headphones and do it.
And then
look out the window.
Look out the window.
No, for sure, it was. But it's just like, again, I'm just the person you're sitting next to on the bus or in McDonald's or something.
Yeah.
So it's just, anyways.
Well, I got to meet again the hosts of Crime 709, and that's a podcast about Newfoundland crimes.
Oh, cool.
I'd met them at CrimeCon in Nashville.
Oh, yes, okay.
And I saw some other people who I recognized from Nashville as well, which was kind of interesting, fans who were there. It was kind of cool.
Yeah, very.
So when they introduced Dark Poutine, we got a big cheer. And then everybody said, "Where's Scott?" Yeah,
well, kids, couch.
Kids and couch.
Yeah.
That's where Scott was.
Kids and couch.
So afterward, I got to have some chats with some of our fans and give some pins and stickers away. And Carol and Andrea got sick of waiting for me, so they went to eat Ethiopian food.
Oh, that's good food, though.
Right across the street. But interestingly, while we were there, we didn't hear about it until the next morning. 20 minutes away in Toronto was that big shooting that happened in Danforth, and that happened the night of this true crime.
I remember a lot of people posting like, "You guys all okay?" and stuff like that. Yeah, it was crazy.
So I got to post for the first time, which was kind of weird. Like Facebook said, "Do you want to let your friends know that you're safe?"
Yeah, I saw. Yeah,
yeah. It's like, yes, that's a good idea. But it was odd. It was an odd feeling to know that we had been having so much fun talking about crime, and an actual horrific thing was happening 20 minutes away.
Very bizarre timing.
So Carol and I drove from Toronto all the way to Quebec City, spent the night there, went and saw my folks, went to a wedding, Alan and Amy in Summerside, which was a nice break. They're fantastic. Alan's family is Irish, so
Oh, wow.
it was my first Irish wedding.
Yep.
And let's just say if I were still imbibing, I'd probably still be drunk. Because holy smokes, they know how to have fun.
My God.
Yeah, that was a great time. So congrats, Alan and Amy. You guys are awesome.
Congrats. It's Alan that used to work with us, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
Well, big congrats then, buddy.
Carol and I met up with Krista and Lily from the 36 Times podcast at a pub in Kentville while we were in NS.
Ooh.
And we'd done an episode together before, so we knew each other a bit.
Yep.
But I really feel like we all hit it off, and they liked Carol, and Carol liked them. They're
Who
very
couldn't like Carol? She's awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you seemed a little hesitant there.
No, I was just like,
I'm going to tell her once this is done.
she'll hear it.
She
won't-
needs to know stats.
She won't think that I paused, and no, she won't think that at all.
No, when she listens, I'll just go, he edited it. There was like a minute.
I'm not going to edit it specifically.
Yeah, how will she know?
Oh my. But anyway, so if you haven't heard the 36 Times podcast, have a listen. I know we've mentioned it before.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's just like
That's a
essentially,
nice thing.
and the love that we got so much love. We had the Halifax meetup. My brother, Baltic Tea Wharf rat.
Yep.
He's in the Umber Yard as that. His name is Phil. I'm sorry, Phil, but I'm blowing up your spot.
Yeah, you blew his cover, man.
Blowing his cover. So his friends and him decided Uncommon Grounds on South Park Street would be a great place for this podcast meetup. And I thought, okay, sure. Why does the address sound so familiar? It was the building I lived in before I moved to British Columbia.
Oh, wow.
And I had totally forgotten. Like, so here I am full circle
Yeah.
coming back.
Oh, wow.
And I was thinking, what a different person I am.
No kidding. I can imagine.
Like
How long has that been?
25 years.
Holy shit. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was 25 years August 1st.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very a weird feeling. And it's
I
like,
bet.
I said,
Did the building and
Did you-
everything look the same?
the building, well, where we were used to be a swimming pool.
So I take it you guys didn't meet up for a swim.
No,
Okay.
no, nobody wants to see that. And yeah, so Gina, a Yumber Yarder from Ottawa,
Okay.
she just happened to be in town, so she came out. And Heather from the Left Behind podcast, she came out and we had a good chat about podcasting and stuff.
That's awesome. Such a great community.
Oh my, it's amazing. On my way back, I met with Sarah and her boyfriend James in Ottawa.
Okay.
And they took me out for a drink, like a sweetened tea. I think I had iced tea or lemonade. I can't remember
okay.
which it was.
Yeah.
But it was at a really nice local coffee shop there. And we were just steps away from Parliament. I got to hang out on Parliament Hill a little bit. And
That's neat.
I posted one of my pictures.
I remember. It's a place I wouldn't mind just strolling around.
I specifically didn't go on the tours or anything there because I want to wait until Carol and I can go back. And
Yeah, that makes sense.
In Hamilton, I went back and I stayed with Carol's cousin who suggested Fortino's for our meetup. And I thought, what's Fortino's? And she said it's a grocery store.
Oh, okay.
But it was this massive grocery store with this weird, like, food court inside it.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it was the perfect place.
Where was that, in Halifax?
No, Hamilton.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
There was an H.
So we had a great time there. I met Sammy, Steph, and Tanya, who I'd already met.
Yep.
And the pizza was awesome. I think they may have like one of those stone ovens, but
Sweet.
yeah. Next up, I went to Sault Ste. Marie, or the Sioux, as I was told. I met Samantha. She's one of our Patreon prime ministers.
Yes, yes.
And she came alone to this Tim Hortons, and we chatted for some time, and I was concerned that she'd come alone to meet an internet stranger obsessed with true crime.
Yeah, when you look at it like on the outside. Sure.
Sure. She said her huge boyfriend was waiting in the truck ready to pounce at the first sign of creepiness. I was like, fair enough.
I'm surprised he hadn't jumped then.
No. Well, yeah, the mustache.
Yeah. What more do you need?
But she was a sweetheart. We got to talk about a bunch of interesting things, and she brought to my attention a really interesting case that we're definitely going to cover at some point.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So she actually did a bunch of research and sent it to me today. And so thank you, Samantha. It was nice to meet you. But most importantly, you guys just got engaged. So this big boyfriend and her, Jake and Samantha, congratulations.
Oh, congratulations, guys.
That's kind of cool.
Very, very awesome.
I went on to meet another lumberyarder, Lee, and her partner in Winnipeg. They were a really sweet couple.
Oh.
Yep. We just kind of hung out and shot the poo for a long time. And then I drove them home. Because why not?
You were on a date.
No. I had nothing, I had nothing better to do other than just go back to my hotel and sleep.
Yeah.
And so I said, how are you guys getting home? And they said, the bus. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. So.
You got to see the Dark Poutine vehicle.
They got to see the poutine machine. Oh, God. That poor car. It did really well.
You know, they say, though, you shouldn't really drive a new car for a long distance for like 5K.
Yeah, well, I did.
It's 2018. Screw the rules.
And so the last meetup that we had before I got home was in Calgary. And there we got to meet Navarra and Milena. And I'd met Milena before at CrimeCon.
Oh, cool.
I had my picture taken with her there, and then I took her picture with the guys from Generation Y because her mom didn't know how to work the camera. But so it was really nice to meet both of those folks, Milena again, and Navarra, who's super interesting and a very healthy individual who runs way too long. She does those crazy mean-acker runs.
I see her posts and stuff. It's really...
It's bonkers.
It's amazing.
It is amazing that a human who is... She is apparently in her right mind, according to what I could assess, that she would be able to run that far.
It's really it's something that I am really impressed by because I hate running. I did it for a while. Like I was able to get up to 10K a couple of times a week, but then I remembered I'm lazy.
Yeah, there you
stopped.
go.
So I'm very impressed.
Let's get to the meat of this episode. We're going to get into my interview with Jack Luna right after this.
If you're looking for a smoking gun, I can absolutely guarantee you will not find it.
In October 2001, a series of letters filled with a deadly powder called anthrax were dropped into the U.S. mail system. What started as an unprecedented case turned into an unsettling mystery. Who sent these deadly letters? And why? From Campside Media and Sony Music Entertainment, I'm Josh Dean, and this is Cover Up Season 4, The Anthrax Threat, available now.
Here's Jack and I talking in the park near his place.
Jack Luna, hello everybody.
Hey, Jack Luna.
Oh, should we speak to each other and not act like we're speaking outward into the ether?
We should speak to each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, hey, folks, it's me, Mike, from Dark Poutine here, of course. And I'm sitting here with Jack Luna from Dark Topic. So this is probably the darkest episode that you're ever going to hear.
Yes. Yeah, well, we'll see where it goes. It could be, yeah. It could be. We're in a beautiful place right now, so it's going to be hard to be down and out, right?
That's right. So we're here in this park in Jack's hometown in the middle of nowhere, Manitoba.
That's right. I thought you were going to...
No, I'm not going to blow up your spot. I don't want the freaks to know where you live.
Yes. No, I was way more worried about that in the beginning than I probably should have been.
Oh, yeah.
You were just saying that you went with your real name right off the bat, but my real name's not Jack Luna. Spoiler alert.
There you go.
But
it's a good radio name though.
Yes. Yeah. It's working for me so far. But yeah, man. I started listening to your podcast pretty much right from the start.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and
like you're one of the people who I listened to and I thought, okay, I like what this guy's doing. You've got that kind of like film noir, Mickey Spillane, pulp kind of feel to your stuff that I really dig. So
that's high praise. Thank you, man.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you, I really enjoyed yours because it did feel like old time radio. It felt like your voice is very calming to me. And you know, they say that there's a lot of men out there doing true crime right now, and sure there is. There's a shitload of women doing it as well.
Absolutely, and the audience is like 98% women too,
right?
Interesting.
It is interesting. Maybe we can get into that in a sec. But maybe two guys shouldn't be getting into that.
Maybe not.
Speculations. But I don't. Honest to God, I don't listen to a lot of true crime.
Oh, interesting.
I don't. And yours is what I do because it's very relaxing to me. You and your buddy Scott, right?
Yeah.
Hemingway.
Yeah. Hemingway. So it's not spelled like Hemingway. It's,
like Ernest?
Yeah. Even though he will say. He'll say sometimes that they are related.
Well, your dynamic is great
between
you and Scott. I mean, the jokes you come up with, you can tell you're coming up with them on the fly.
Yeah.
I believe you are, at least. I don't think those are written, right?
No.
And it just felt really genuine to me. I mean, I listened to True Crime Garage before that too, but I'm a big fan of Nick, and the captain can bother me sometimes. Like, he bothers everybody in his own way, but he's charming as well.
The captain is the captain.
Captain's the captain.
Yeah.
And you can't...
He uses our favorite phrase, douche canoe, very frequently. And so Scott actually is the first person I ever knew who used the phrase douche canoe. And it's like, fuck, we can't use it on our show because the captain uses it all the time on True Crime Garage.
I thought he made that up.
No.
Oh.
No, douche canoe is that's a very Canadian saying. I don't know where the captain came up with it.
Wow.
Maybe he read Scott Hemingway's Twitter at some point by accident. I don't know.
Stole it. Yeah. Well, shit, man. So you're traveling from Nova Scotia back home, right?
Yep.
And we got a hold of each other. I saw you on Facebook and decided to stop by. So yeah, let's talk a little bit. I don't know. What do you want to talk about, man?
I want to talk about, the main thing I want to talk about is your show. And my interest in your show is like your storytelling approach. Mm-hmm. Where did that, where was the genesis of that? Where did that come from?
Okay. Well, I've been writing since I was a little kid.
Yeah,
I won an oral language festival when I was in grade 4.
Oh, wow.
And I was the only one who was writing stories at the time.
Yeah.
All the other people were doing other things. It was, those little talent shows that people do.
Yeah.
My talent was just writing this story. It was called The Scratch. And at the end of it, there's this guy, and he's in a boat, and a monster comes up and scratches the boat, and blah, blah, blah. He wakes up, goes outside, goes down to the boat, and he says, "If it was all a dream, then why is there a scratch on the back of my boat?" And they ate it up, right?
There you go. But it was grade 4, right?
Yeah. Well, what happened, though, is that I ended up going to the finals or whatever. I get up on stage, and I forgot my lines.
Oh, no.
Nothing came out of my mouth.
Oh, that's the worst.
I walked off stage. And I think that haunted me for a really long time. I continued to write, and I got into social services, and when I was about 14, 15, I remember clearly thinking to myself, I want to write. Yeah. I want to write when I'm older. I want to become an author. I want to be like Stephen King or Dean Koontz.
Yeah.
I think all, young fictional people who are interested in creative writing probably do.
Sure.
And I said to myself, I don't have any life experience, so I'm going to go out there and get as much of it as I possibly can.
Yeah.
So that I have something to write about later.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the time I turned about 35, 36, when I started this podcast, I figured I had enough material to start writing. So all the stuff that you hear me talking about, I kind of got in those situations hoping in the future to be able to tell those stories in some kind of venue, and true crime podcasting came about.
Yeah.
And it just all fell into place, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And the voice that do you have like particular inspirations that you look to?
Okay. Rod Serling from Twilight Zone.
Yeah, for sure.
Huge. I love that guy. I mean, he's definitely dead by now. The amount of cigarettes that guy smoked, right?
He smoked like 2-3 packs of cigarettes a day.
Yeah. Huge fan of him. I just loved how he would come in, like the shit would be happening in the Twilight Zone, and then suddenly he'd be there. Yeah. And it's like, what they didn't know was the end of the world was coming, right? And they're all sitting there like, huh? And they see him standing there, and it was just so odd, man. I really enjoyed that guy. His hand in his pocket, cigarette in the other hand. He was a big inspiration for sure.
I really dug it. that show too, and they're all streaming like on Netflix or now, so you can watch every single episode.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
Yeah,
the old William Shatner one with the thing on the wing.
Yeah. Was that is that where that Gremlin story came from? Is that
I
that Gremlin?
believe so. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, big fan of all that stuff. Also, we were just talking about how you and I both enjoy music from the 50s, right?
Yeah.
And that whole era and the whole feel of black and white and
Scott will be happy to hear that because his camera, I think, is broken because it only takes pictures in black and white. Mine works very well.
Right.
I take pictures in color, but for some reason Scott doesn't see in color. I think he's a dog.
He's a dog. You're still cutting him up, even from distance.
Yeah, he'll be listening to this episode just screaming at me. Maybe I'll edit in like him going, "Will."
He should. Awesome, man.
Yeah, so I'm calling any episodes that I'm doing while I'm on the road, any kind of stuff like this, I'm calling it scot-free.
Scot-free.
Scot-free. But I love Scott. I mean, he and I got into this because we worked at that telecom that I told you about. He hired me there.
Okay.
And we ended up, I worked my way up to the same position that he had, and so we were, instead of like he was my boss, we were peers, and we just became really, really good friends. Like over the 8 years that we worked there together, and we used to kind of hold court, you know, like just our banter. That people would just love to listen to our banter, and we would just sit there and bullshit, and it would a crowd would gather, kind of thing, just listening to us cut each other up and
That's awesome.
and have a good time. And so when it came time for me to, okay, I want to do this podcast, I want to do this podcasting thing, I needed somebody who I could trust there, you know?
Yeah.
And I needed some support. I was too chicken shit, actually, to do it on my own.
Okay, yeah.
So now I'm pretty sure I could do a podcast on my own, but am I ever glad that I brought Scott on board, because our dynamic has made that show, this show, what it is. Well, without him, you know, he's the audience's voice, right? Like, he's saying those things.
Yes.
I bring him over and I tell him a scary story every week, and he's saying those things that the audience is thinking, right?
Yes.
So,
yeah. He's great. He kind of serves you up. You know, he serves you up softballs and you knock him out of the park once in a while.
Yeah.
A lot of really funny jokes, man. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Well, one of the funniest episodes people say was our recent one that we did about the gold, the mint.
Yes.
The guy smuggling gold up his ass out of the mint.
Right. Yeah.
And one of our fans was laughing last night. I met her in Winnipeg, Lee Fraser. Hi, Lee.
Lee.
We were laughing about all the words for bumhole that I came up
Oh,
with.
yeah. Like, stinker winker or some shit?
Stink winker. And leather Cheerio. And,
oh, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
You can really see that.
yeah, exactly. It's very descriptive.
Gross.
But yeah, so, I mean, true crime. Why true crime?
Well, where's this going to play? Is this going to play on your podcast?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't talk about anything all that personal on my own, because my family listens and all that. But I'll talk about it here if it's just going to go there. I grew up in a pretty dark situation. My environment when I was a kid was abusive, not towards me, but I saw a lot of violence.
Okay.
My dad went to jail for a while, and you know, so my childhood was pretty. It was in flux a lot.
Sure.
You know, there was, I didn't really have a stable environment.
You didn't know what to expect day to day.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. You know, I'd be running out of the house, going to call the cops from the age of 4.
Oh, wow.
You know, and running through buildings, trying to find the right door to knock on to get help.
Yeah.
Trying to find a door of a person who I knew I could trust, who wouldn't tell anybody in the community about what was happening so much. At the age of 4, thinking that way.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that did something to me. And then I ended up growing up around shitty people.
Yeah.
Because I was in a shitty neighborhood, and I was always drawn to people with problems because I had problems of my own.
Yeah.
So I was consistently around crime, criminals, involved in it myself for quite some time. And reading Stephen King and the characters and what they were going through, I could relate to a lot of them.
Yep.
So when it comes to true crime, to be honest with you, a lot of the criminals themselves, if you'll notice, I do put a large focus on the killer that I'm talking about, their childhood, whatever.
It's
right?
It's humanizing.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like I know those guys,
Absolutely.
and I would never go where they went, but I do understand um, the momentum of your past coming to maybe a breaking point,
For
right?
sure.
And a lot of us go the right way, but a lot of these guys obviously went the wrong way.
Yeah.
I also understand hating society and not being able to fit in, and not understanding how some people get handed such great cards and some of us don't.
Yeah.
You might be able to relate to that in some way.
I definitely do. Yeah.
You said that you were adopted, right?
Yeah, I'm adopted, so I spent a lot of my childhood thinking that I was unwanted or unnecessary in the world. I was depressed when I was just a kid, right? So
Right.
I lived in a world of darkness
Yes.
early on.
Yeah.
I've since found out, that was the best thing that could have happened to me. My birth mom, she follows the podcast, she listens regularly, kind of thing, and she made the best decision that she could, considering her circumstances, right?
Right.
So I know that now, but
Yes.
when you're a kid,
Yeah.
and especially with the sort of depressive bent that I already had,
Yeah.
I ended up walking down some pretty dark places, trying to understand
Yeah.
who I was and where I came from and what my life was all about, right? So
Yes.
I ended up, I was 11 years old thinking I was the only person on the planet who ever felt the way I felt and stuff like that, and wanted to die and
Yes.
and those kind of things. So I turned to some self-medication, let's
Yeah.
just say, and life improved for a while. I found sort of a new normal. It brought me up to normal, right?
Yeah.
Like it dulled the pain long enough that I didn't have to deal with it for a while, but eventually that stopped working.
You're talking, not preaching to the choir, but you're talking to someone who's still in the choir. I mean, I'm sitting here drinking a beer at 9 a.m, about to grab another one, right?
Yeah.
And hold on just 1 second, let me grab that. But yeah, it's I grew up feeling the same way. I felt like I was the only one who could understand me,
Yeah.
and that everybody else was they didn't get how shitty things can be.
Yeah.
And I couldn't relate to anybody. But fortunately for me, I do have a sense of humor, so I could self-deprecate.
Yeah.
I would tell a lot of the stories that happened to me in my childhood and going along, and it would bring the house down. Like, it would make my friends laugh with the horrible shit that happened, because it's so ridiculous that they would just be like, holy fuck. And I started getting attention from the poor things that happened to me.
Yeah.
And use them almost as a strength socially for myself. But like you, I got involved. I drink. I've been drinking like crazy from pretty much my whole life. I'm hoping to slow down at some point. But unlike you, who have come out of that dark place, I'm still there in some ways.
Yeah.
And that's helping my podcast, I think.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, I'm very familiar with that darkness still. I can still get there, like, even though I've been, clean and sober a very long time, but I can still get to that place. It's just never quite as extreme as it used to be. But I can't forget it. Otherwise, I'm destined to head back that way.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I like dark things. I've always been attracted to darkness. My grandmother my grandmother lived next door to a funeral home when I was growing up.
Right.
And she used to answer the phone sometimes for the dead phone.
Yeah, the dead phone. They got one in town here.
Yeah, exactly.
You hear it ring when you're drinking outside the Legion, and there's the place right there. You hear it go off. You're like, oh, someone died. The dead phone.
The dead phone.
Yeah.
And she would help them, and then she also was the deputy registrar in our home county, so she did all the birth certificates and death certificates.
Wow.
And wedding certificates for people, so she knew who was coming and who was going.
Wow.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
she was connected to everything. But in her house, she had old, do you know who Max Haynes is?
That sounds familiar, but no.
So he's a newspaper writer who wrote true crime, Canadian true crime.
Okay.
And I would pick up these like old newspaper articles in her house and just obsessively, like 10 and 11 years old, reading this true crime stuff. And I loved it. Like it just clicked with me right away. And so I started reading more and more and more of his stuff. And then I found things like, Helter Skelter, when I was first introduced to the book Helter Skelter.
Yeah, me too.
That blew my mind.
The Manson family.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. Well, I was born 3 days after the Manson murders. So they happened on August 8th. I was born on August 5th.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I really related to that time, and I was working hard to become a hippie.
Yeah,
with the chemicals that they were...
Yeah, you're talking about acid and shit. Yeah, I did a lot of it myself.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, we did that one episode, the Acid Al episode, where...
I didn't hear it.
Oh, yeah, you check it out.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially in Vancouver, just outside of Vancouver, in a little city called New West, which is actually the oldest city in British Columbia, they were turning people on with LSD, and Timothy Leary was there, and like the whole scoop. So that's one of our episodes. But
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of acid. I started doing it when I've been grade 8. I did my first hit of acid.
Oh my goodness.
My first day of grade 9, I was on acid.
Oh no.
Yeah, I was selling it, fucking super involved, and I didn't do a lot. I would kind of like take one hit, and it would smooth me out for the day. I wasn't seeing demons and all that shit. All it did for me is I would pop a half of it, and I would get on my bike, and I would feel so free. Suddenly my mind would, like a forest fire went over my mind, and all the shit that was clogged up in my mind suddenly was freed up and broken apart, and I could see everything very clearly.
Well, that's what these therapists were trying to do in New West, was to help people have that experience, to open them up, to deflate their ego to the point where it didn't bother them anymore, and they could see the world, clearly, kind of thing.
I think in the right doses, they were onto something. If you dose yourself properly with it.
We're not endorsing.
We're not
in any way, shape, or form.
Don't do it. I mean, do it. But yeah, it's like I remember being in a field one time, a cornfield, and there was a highway nearby.
Yeah.
And I was out there by myself, probably on like 2 hits of acid or something like that. And I'm walking through the field, and I'm feeling how ancient the earth is for the first time. And I think we're born, and we don't live very long.
Sure.
There's only about 30 years where you're really making an impact in this life.
Yeah.
And I was seeing how little impact most of us are having. Looking at that highway and seeing those people driving home from work, and I'm watching them from the cornfield, and I'm looking at all their faces, unhappy, unhappy, unhappy.
Right.
Just stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
They're probably headed home to watch TV. And then that occurs to me. I wonder what they're doing in their homes. So I get out of the cornfield, and I start walking around the suburb, looking in people's windows, taking a tally of how many people are watching TV.
Luckily, the police weren't.
No, they weren't.
weren't around.
So that's how I really got my start in true crime. I was a peeping Tom.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah. No, but they were all watching TV. So they go from this job, they go home, they get sucked into the television, and it's this crazy. I realize that we're just kind of ants,
Yeah, totally. It's a rat race.
It's a complete rat race. And I didn't want to be a part of it.
No, me neither. And that's kind of why I want to do this as what I do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm my own guy. I get to do kind of my own thing. I don't have to... I mean, obviously, I have to still pay the bills and those kind of things. But I'm in a position now where it's able to happen, and I'm able to do whatever I want right now. Like I just drove across the country. I took a month to drive across the country and just fart around and come talk to people and stuff like that. It's been an amazing trip. Like I've learned a lot about myself too doing it. It's like, oh, I'm actually a pretty happy guy now.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And speaking about how we both come from a dark place, and it's rare for guys like us to end up in a spot like this at our age. You know? Usually you're pretty old, like in your 60s, by the time you really start to figure things out. They say that you figure it out on your way out.
You're ready to kick the bucket. And you go, oh shit!
Yeah,
like,
yeah. If I can go back and talk to myself back then, if I knew what I knew now, back then, and I'm trying to get to the point where I know those things now.
Yeah.
Right. And drugs did help me get speed that up in some ways. But, you know, you can't do it forever. I know that too.
No,
it'll eat you up. It'll eat you up.
Yeah. So another reason I get into the true crime is I talked about my own experience with a guy trying to kidnap me in our 10th episode.
Okay.
It's called Mike Met a Monster in 1981.
I didn't hear that one either.
Yeah, that one will mess with you a bit.
Okay,
because it was really difficult for me to talk about because I hadn't ever talked about it publicly. Mm-hmm. I even had to say, okay, Scott, I'm going to do this by myself, and then he bookends it, right? Like he's there for the first, he goes home, and then we come back and talk about my story after he sort of hears what it was about.
Okay. So what happened? Do you mind? I mean, everybody's probably heard about it.
Yeah, everybody's heard about it. So essentially, I was walking home from a night of playing floor hockey with my buddies, and a guy.
I played floor hockey too. Couldn't afford fucking regular hockey. Is that what happened to you?
No.
Is it okay for me to swear?
We could have. Yeah. Okay. Fuck yeah.
Okay.
we could afford it. I was just too lazy to play hockey, and I was a nerd. Right. My ankles bent when I skated, and like all that kind of shit. Like I just was not. I was not athletic at all.
Like a baby giraffe on skates?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I could run, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't run on skates if my ankles are all bent over. It's just not happening. But so we're up playing floor hockey. It's like 10:30 at night. Charles and Diana had just gotten married that day. So I remembered the anniversary of this happening. Every time their wedding is on TV, it's like they're in my face kind of thing.
Wow.
But I noticed this person walking down the hill. It's late at night, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I'm like 11 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I had never had a bad experience. Right. You know, like never had a bad experience with an adult.
Right.
Up until that point. And something in me knew you need to stay away from this person.
Yeah.
Just the red flags were flying and the alarm bells, like my spidey senses were tingling, right?
Yeah.
And I kept walking. And so I started to walk faster, and I noticed this guy was walking faster, and he's starting to catch me. And it's like, shit, like I can't walk any faster, and he's catching up.
Right.
So I thought, I'm like any good prey would do, I want to put him in front of me so I can watch what he's doing. And so I bent down to tie my shoe, and I feel this guy's eyes on me as he walks by, and I could feel like the weird whatever the fuck.
Like you probably felt, like you said, like prey. There probably is some deep ingrained instinct
Absolutely.
In us that recognizes danger.
Something in my amygdala is like firing away.
There's a wolf.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so he walks by me, and he slows down as he goes by, and I'm taking like 5 minutes to tie my shoe if that's what it takes. And he gets by me. And
5 minutes.
Yeah, at this point, it's not that long. But at this point, like we're probably 200 meters from my parents' place, and there's a road, and then a small park, and then 3 houses, and my parents is the 3rd house. And this guy turns up this road, and it's a dead end road, and I know everybody who lives on that road because it's my neighborhood, and this guy isn't one of them. And I think something's not right. He walks up a little ways, and just as I'm about to get to the road, he turns back, and he starts to walk toward me, and he says, "Do you have the time?" And I say, "Yeah, I guess it's like 10:30, 10:45, something like that." He says, "Isn't it awfully late for someone your age to be out here?"
That's the creepiest shit stuff that he's saying to you.
It's like, there. And you hear it in true crime over and over and over again. It's like Ted Bundy with his, "Will you help me with my sailboat?"
Oh, yeah.
You know, or "I've got a busted arm," or like, and what time is it is a big one of predators. They will use that over and over. You have the time.
Right.
And so he says that to me, and I'm talking, and before I know it, he's got me, and he puts my arm behind my back, and there's this park here, and it's like all wooded area, like dark wooded area.
Right.
And he says, "Don't scream or I'll break your fucking arm." And I said, "Okay," to myself in my head. And like, and he's pushing me as fast as he can toward these woods. And we have about, I don't know, like 100 feet before we get there. And I asked him, what are you going to do to me?
Yeah.
And he says, I'm going to take you in the woods. I'm going to suck your cock.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah. And I'm 11.
Yeah.
This is my first experience. Like, I was a naive 11-year-old. I came from a very sheltered, safe town. And I had never had anybody say anything sexual to me ever. I realize it's not sexual now. It's about power and control and violence.
Yes.
But that was my first experience with any of that kind of stuff, was this guy. And I don't know what it was or where I found it in myself, but I just started to scream and just broke away from the guy.
What you got to do.
And ran, right?
Yeah.
And he ran off another way. I saw another guy walking down the hill, but he was one of the mentally handicapped kids from the special education class in school, so he was never going to be able to identify this guy, right?
Right.
Like, he wouldn't have been able to be a credible witness.
Right.
So I went banging on the door, and we went looking for this guy, and didn't find him.
That's a close call.
Yeah, but anyway, it messed me up. Like,
Yeah.
it really messed me up. I questioned my sexuality
Right.
and, like, all that kind of stuff. And we ended up... sorry for telling us all again, folks. But
No, I mean, I know I hadn't heard it before. So,
yeah. So we ended up, I don't know. I ended up learning who he was. Like, I haven't told people this on the podcast, but I know where he lives.
You do?
I absolutely know where he lives. I know his phone number. I know his mailing address.
Let's prank call him right now. That'd be a good pod.
Yeah.
No, that's messed up, man.
Yeah, but I reported it to the police later on. I reported it once I actually found his name, which was like 15 years after.
Right.
Or maybe even 20. But because of the time that had passed, and I couldn't identify him in a lineup.
Yeah.
Because they gave me this lineup with this guy was there, and I know which picture it was now, thinking about it. But the pictures that they gave me was like pictures from now. Like 20 years later, how am I going to recognize this guy? Give me a picture of him from then.
Sure.
You know?
Of course.
But
there's a lot that bothers me about that story, but I think that the main thing is the way that he did the time deal with you, how quickly he grabbed you and pushed you into the woods. All that kind of feels like it wasn't his first time doing that.
yeah. Yeah.
And
I was a victim of opportunity, like FBI profiler Jim Clementi talks about
Jim Clementi,
that.
oh yeah.
And he went through some similar stuff when he was a kid, like he was molested and all that kind of stuff. But he went through that with somebody who was grooming him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this guy was one of those type of guys too, because when I found out who he was, the girlfriend I had at the time, she had been molested by her uncle from the time she was 2 until she was 16. And here was a photo of her uncle, this creep, standing with my creep.
Wow.
Right? And that's how I found out his name, because she told me his name. And I was like, does that guy do the things? And she's like, yep. So he was well known, and cops said he's well known to them as well. But I don't know if he's ever done time or anything like that.
That's crazy. Like you know as well as anybody, as we all know, that there are gangs of these guys. That's not the right word, but they're organized.
Birds of a feather, right?
Yeah.
Like, and the internet has allowed for, I think, like a larger, like a safer place for them to network, especially like Tor and the dark web and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, definitely.
But
well, the funny thing about that, sorry to cut you off,
No.
but the thing I've been thinking about lately, and I've never voiced this on my own podcast, I say a lot of things that people don't agree with on my podcast, but it comes from my personal experience, I guess. I feel that when the internet came about and there's more access to child pornography and all that shit, the advent of the internet and that being available has stemmed some of these guys going out and having to do it for themselves. They can just live through these other guys doing it to other people.
I've seen a documentary where they actually talk to pedophiles,
right?
And one of them said he knows he's a pedophile, but he has never practiced pedophilia because he can access that on the internet,
right?
And that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Like,
it's gross.
It's disgusting.
It's very disgusting. Yeah, man, it is. I'm glad he didn't get you.
Well, me too.
Yeah, you might not be here today.
Yeah, who knows? Like, who knows?
If you saw his face, right? One of the things, like with BTK, when BTK went into that house and he had no mask on, we know now, I learned from the Otero's experience, Joseph Otero's experience, where he thought, okay, I'll just give this guy what he wants so he can get out of here. The thing he didn't recognize was that I saw his face. Yeah. And if you see their face, you got to be prepared to fight. Fight like hell, because it's likely that he's not going to leave a witness around. Right. You know, if a guy's got a mask on, he's robbing you, doing shit, I mean, by all means, go along with it. Yeah. No mask, no moss. What does no moss mean? no mercy?
I think it's no more.
No more. Okay, so no more. You know, no mask, no moss. Yeah. You got to fight like hell. Stay paranoid.
Stay paranoid. No shit.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And this whole true crime thing, I don't know if it's the same for you, but I'm looking for it everywhere now. If I see somebody talking to a kid, an older man talking to a kid, immediately I'm not thinking, oh, look at that sweet old man, and viewing some of his wisdom upon this child. Yeah. I'm thinking, no, he's grooming him and he's trying to get him, into a compromising situation.
Well, with somebody with a mustache like mine, I'm a short, fat, mid-40s guy, right?
Right.
And if I have a conversation with a kid in a park,
right,
somebody is going to think, oh, look at the pedophile.
You can't do that, no.
You can't do that anymore.
Right.
I used to be involved in Boy Scouts. I loved scouting. I like camping. I liked the whole, orienteering, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Loved it. And I never had a bad experience with any of my scoutmasters. They were all fine, upstanding men who, taught me what it meant to, go out and live in the wilderness kind of thing.
Right.
I looked at becoming a scout leader at one point, but because there's such a huge focus now on your personal life and you're under a microscope.
Yeah.
Just because I don't have any kids.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you want to get involved in scouting?
Totally.
You're some sort of pervert.
Yeah.
So I haven't been able to follow kind of one of the things that I've always wanted to do, just out of self-preservation. And I don't want to be put into a situation where maybe some kid lies.
Yeah.
Oh,
and it happens. It does happen. People do a lot of things to get attention nowadays, and kids especially. I mean, I lied a lot when I was a kid to get attention, I think.
Me too.
Because you're insecure, right? And you want that focus on you to feel more secure about yourself.
Yeah, and you want people to not know what's really going on with you.
That too. That too, man. But with minister, priests, Boy Scout leaders, all that kind of stuff, there is definitely a big stereotype on them.
Absolutely.
On the men.
Which is sad, because there's probably some decent people among there.
I bet you 95%, 98%. But those 2%, God, because what a place to put yourself in that type of situation, alone with 8 boys in the woods in the middle of the night. What better place to start, making your fucking creepy moves. Mm-hmm. But no, none of that stuff ever happened to me. The closest I came, I worked at a pizza shop where a guy that worked there, he used to sit with me and talk and get all my shit out of me. And
oh, yeah.
Then he started...
That's grooming.
He was grooming me, and he started saying, hey, do you masturbate?
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, but, I don't even talk about that with
disgusting.
My wife.
Yeah, but I'll talk about it here on your podcast.
Yeah, there you
go. And this is really disgusting, and you can cut this if you want.
No, I won't.
He asked me to masturbate into a milk bottle for him and leave it on his doorstep every day. He was joking, I think. He was trying to make a joke, but he was telling me
to see how far you would go.
That's what he was doing. He was pushing me to see, and I laughed at it, and it made me uncomfortable. And then he pushed further because I didn't go, "You're disgusting. You're a piece of shit."
Your boundaries.
I accepted it. I accepted him being that way because I was very accepting of fucked up people because of the way that I had grown up. I was around them all the time. Yeah. My dad being one of them. So I was kind of used to these weird characters. So he eventually realized that he couldn't push me to those limits. Yeah. And he kind of befriended me and became friends. But I watched him do it to other kids. He went down to the basement with a kid, with a 15-year-old one time at the pizza shop. Yeah. And I told his partner, he was homosexual. and he went down and broke it up, right?
Oh, wow.
But apparently this guy had been in trouble in Detroit for similar stuff, and so I was around a Predator. I was around a Predator for a couple of years there, and then they disappeared like gypsies in the night. They said they would at some point, and they did. They just disappeared when the heat got too hot. So I feel guilt about that. I know that guy did some shit to some kids, and I didn't speak up. Yeah. I only told his partner who got him.
That's something.
At least I stopped it for those kids in my neighborhood. Yeah. But he went somewhere else and did it again. I'm certain of it.
Yeah.
They're not everywhere, but they are out there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else you want to talk about? What we cover? Fucking
we covered pedophilia.
Pedophilia. Heavy for some reason.
Drugs.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean this is kind of the kind of stuff that people want to know. I think that's why we have done so well, is because we try to be real people on our show. Yeah. And I want people to know me as a real human being. And people have said it feels like you're sitting there telling me this story when you're telling me the story. And it's like, that is what I'm after. I want to make people feel something. I think connection is a big thing in this world, and a lot of people feel disconnected. Right. And if I can make somebody feel connected to something or someone for just a few moments, I've succeeded in my life.
That's the same thing that I'm trying to do. It's not the reason why I started this. The reason is because I like being creative, and I want to make some money, or not make some money, but have a career where it doesn't feel like work every day. You know, it's just something that I enjoy doing, and for the moment, that's what it is. But I do get a lot of messages from people saying thank you for voicing a certain opinion, or whether or not they agree with it. I mean, I'm pretty hard on religion a lot of the time, and my reasoning for that is I just want people to feel that they can be open-minded and challenge the things that might have been ingrained in them when they're young. Yeah. I hate all that shit.
Dogma's bullshit.
It is.
Don't just believe it because they tell you to believe it. Find what you really believe in your own heart. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, you can create your own religion for yourself. A set of values, a set of parameters around yourself. Big thing for me is finding the people in your life, friends, family. You know, family's overrated. Family, you know, you're born into it, obviously. Yep. And I don't need to tell you that you're adopted. Yeah. But like you think that you need to listen to your parents or listen to your minister if you go
sure.
to, you know, all these people who are above you.
Otherwise, you've done something wrong. You're going to hell or whatever.
Right. Yeah. But I like the idea of finding like-minded people and creating my own kind of little, not cult, but just people around me that I know are supportive of me. Shrink your world. You know, shrink your world and have people that care about you and support you, and you can speak to them about anything that you want. And through True Crime Podcasting, I'm trying to attract those people on a larger scale.
Yeah, same. And
not have to be around them all the time, but I can speak. I have a lot of conversations with these people now through email and just messaging on, you know, Messenger and stuff, and it makes you feel better about your own life and your own thoughts and feelings, and you're able to open up that much more.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, man.
All right.
Thanks for stopping by too. This is a real pleasure.
Appreciated.
We'll talk a little bit more.
Okay.
All right.
So before we go, we want to talk about we have a lot of Patreon shout outs to catch up on. So we're going to do probably 10 now. Holy crap. I'm blown away by the level of support that you folks have given us, even in our absence. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited by our community. Just a great group of people.
So Lisa Oz from Hawthorne in Victoria, Australia.
Oh, cool.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Yes, Lisa, thank you.
Marty Dolezal from Seattle, Washington.
Hi, Marty.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much.
I didn't even struggle with that name, which is interesting. It maybe this vacation cleared my brain.
It's quite possible.
It's quite possible. Tessa Sykes.
Oh, yes, that's Joel Sykes' wife.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hi,
Joel,
Tessa.
Great friend of mine, and Tessa is just a gem.
Joel is a great guy.
Oh, one of the best.
So, Tessa, you won the Hub and lottery there, I think.
Oh, no. Having met her, he won.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
She's
I
the
haven't
prize,
met her.
not Joel.
Well, he is. I don't know.
Oh, he's a wonderful man.
I like him.
Oh, he's one of my favorite.
Constance Pulley from Waterloo, Ontario,
Well, welcome,
where my
Constance.
cousin Pete lives.
Oh, sweet.
Fave. Oh, boy.
Do it.
I'm going to try this.
Do it.
Fauve Schurman
Well, I'll go with that.
from Edmonton, Alberta. So, surprisingly, somebody from Edmonton became a patron. Yes, I think Edmonton is beginning to realize we really do love you too.
Absolutely.
Yes. Michelle Ray from Magnolia, Texas.
Hey, Michelle.
I like magnolias.
Yeah.
We have magnolia trees that grow right out here on the boulevard.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I go take pictures of them. You've seen them.
Oh, I'm sure I have. I don't pay attention to what flowers what. I just think they're beautiful, Mike. I appreciate them all.
I take pictures of the flowers. And so we'll end this week's shout-outs with Kara Van Dam from Reston, Virginia.
Hey, Kara.
Oh, to heck with it. We'll do one more. And Jenny Becker. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny. And
Looks
Kara.
like you are from New Zealand, which is whoa.
Yeah, I love how many fans we have.
Yeah, totally.
In that area, the Australias and the New Zealands.
Do you want to keep going?
Why not?
All right, let's do it. Amanda Newman
Welcome, Amanda.
from Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. I drove through Wisconsin. I don't remember Chippewa Falls.
Why does Chippewa Falls sound familiar?
It does sound familiar.
Anyways, welcome.
Kelly Simmons. She's from Rochester, New York.
Hey, Kelly.
And my buddy, Jack Luna
Jackaluna.
from Manitoba.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's how it's said.
Manitoba.
I know. Just busting your
There
hump.
were flies biting our legs.
It is one of the worst for mosquitoes and flies.
And Jack took a picture of me, or I guess it was his mom, must have taken a picture of the two of us sitting in lawn chairs looking at our phones.
Yeah.
Not engaging in each other's company at all.
2018.
But we went out for, he took me out for poutine.
Wow, that's what it should be.
That's what it should be. So thank you, Jack.
Thanks, Jack.
Natasha Donahue.
Hey, Natasha.
Whoa. From Barhead, Alberta.
Yeah. Hey, welcome.
Samantha Cass from Mississauga, Ontario.
Samantha, thank you.
Now it's like I've been through so many different places now. It's like, oh yeah, I know
You're
where that is.
picturing, yeah.
Yeah, I can actually know where places are. Samantha Cass, yeah, we mentioned her.
Yeah, well, might as well do it twice.
Jessica Landry from Montreal, Quebec. Thank
Welcome,
you,
Jessica.
Adrienne Nowicki,
Well, welcome.
another person from Edmonton. So my Edmonton apology worked.
It did. It did. Maybe we'll do a meet and greet someday in Edmonton.
And one that surprised me when I saw it happen was, interestingly, Pippa Woodward, who is my buddy from that telecom that we used to work at.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, Pippa.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah, so she lives here in Vancouver.
Sweet.
So thanks, Pippa. We mucho gracias.
We totes do.
We totes. I don't know what that meant. And the other Mike Brown.
Oh, battle for the brown.
Yeah, interesting. Josina Debris, and she is from Vancouver.
Welcome, Josina. Holy cow, this is
It just goes on and on. This is because we haven't done it for a month.
Yeah.
Alyssa Forvor from Clifton Park, New York.
Welcome, Alyssa.
I have never been there.
Me neither.
Paige, and she is from Columbia, South Carolina.
Fantastic.
South Carolina. You know what? I love that. If I could have an accent, it would either be Australian or South Carolina. I don't know why. I just love it.
What I've learned is Australians don't like to say T's. They pronounce them D's because every time I'm hearing like sort of 14, it's 14. I can't even do it, but it's
14.
14. Like, yeah.
It was 14 times.
Exactly.
Casey from Case File. I love that guy's voice.
That's the one I'm currently binging through.
Shelley Smith from Seattle.
Hey, Shelley.
Laura Simonson, or Simonson, I guess, from Victoria, BC.
Hey, Laura.
Natalie Chapin.
Welcome,
from
Natalie.
Spokane.
Oh, great.
And
place.
I know where Spokane is now.
Yes, as you should.
Yeah. I stayed at the Ruby Hotel in downtown Spokane. It was really nice.
Very cool.
Sarah Ann, she's from Woolwich, London, in Great Britain.
Hey, Sarah.
She is English, I would assume.
Well, I think that's safe
because
to assume.
Great Britain,
Like
correct?
That. Correct.
So perhaps she'll join the Umberyard and explain what is the difference between tea time, supper time, and lunchtime.
Oh.
I need to know these things without having to Google them.
Oh,
Thanks.
yeah. If you can get it from a source, not an internet, then,
Exactly.
better.
Trisha Inglis, and she is from Halifax. Thank you so much. I love when I get a little bit of love from Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess it's because I was born there. I just, it warms me up a little bit.
Yeah, I get it.
Tina McKenzie, and she's from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Hey, Tina.
Jillian, and she is from St. Thomas, Ontario.
Oh.
And lastly, Michelle Curtis. I wonder if she's related to Bill Curtis from the true crime show. What was that one on A&E many years ago? I'm Bill Curtis.
Cold Case Files. And
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I loved his voice.
Yeah.
And one of Carol's former co-workers said that was her boyfriend. Bill Curtis was her boyfriend because she loved his voice so much. So,
Welcome,
anyway.
everybody. Thank you all. We really appreciate it.
Welcome, Michelle. So, there we go. That we have come to the end of that, I do believe. If I missed you, message me and say, Mike, you dum-dum. Well, or Mike, you missed me. Or Mike, you mispronounced my name. Thank you so much for all your pledges. We really appreciate it. And like I say, we are blown away. If you want to donate to us and haven't done so yet, you can do so at patreon.com/darkpoutine or send us some donut money via PayPal at our email address, darkpoutinepodcast@gmail.com. Check out our website, www.darkpoutine.com for show notes and other cool stuff. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for Dark Poutine and tell your friends about us. Especially fun, as we've mentioned many, many times, is our closed Facebook group, The Umberyard. We're over 750 people in there.
It's a growing.
750.
My daily notifications make me, I believe it.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
And you can subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast directory like iTunes Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, or Spotify. We'll be back next week with another case.
We totes will.
Don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple, folks.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Go shit in your hat!
Hi, it's Shauna, and I might be a bad parent because my kids think French fries are vegetables.
Hey, it's Ryan, and I might be a bad parent because I went out for wings when my wife was in the hospital after giving birth.
Johnny here. I might be a bad parent because in my house, the tooth fairy gives pocket change.
But we're not alone. Len emailed us and said his 6-year-old daughter's Tarzan moment going from love seat to lazy boy by curtains made him more proud than any dance recital.
And Andy left his 2-year-old at the rink.
All right, guys, I'm sure we're not alone. Like Andy's kid.
For stories and confessions like this, make sure you check out our podcast.
It's called Bad Parents, and it's available wherever you get your podcasts.
I left a glove at the rink.